The stars burned like distant candles against the endless black as the ESV horizon drifted through the empty space at the edge of human territory. Captain Susan Miller stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main view screen where a blue-green planet slowly rotated. She had spent 15 years in space, but the sight of a habitable world still filled her with wonder. "Life signs confirmed, Captain," said Dr. Eric Woods, looking up from his console. His fingers danced across the holographic display as he compiled the data. "Definitely intelligent. Technology level appears to be on par with our own. Possibly more advanced in some areas." Susan nodded. "First contact protocols, then. Lieutenant Taylor, keep our weapons systems inactive but on standby. Standard precautions only." Alan Taylor, the tactical officer, acknowledged the order with a quick nod. He was young for his position, but Susan had never regretted promoting him. His instincts were good. "Should I prepare a greeting package, Captain?" asked Communications Officer Lily Patel, already pulling up the standard first contact files. "Yes. Include the full diplomatic suite and the cultural exchange database." The bridge hummed with activity as the crew prepared for humanity's first meeting with the inhabitants of this world. Susan felt the familiar mix of excitement and nervousness that came with these moments. In her career, she had overseen first contact with 3 other alien civilizations. All had been peaceful. She had no reason to think this would be different. The horizon moved into a high orbit above the planet. Almost immediately, sensors detected movement from the surface. "Multiple craft launching," reported Taylor, his voice calm but tense. 20, no, 30 vessels rising to meet us. "Defensive posture only," Susan reminded him. "Keep broadcasting our greeting on all frequencies." Dr. Woods joined her at the central platform. "They're curious, just like us," he said with a smile. "This is how it always begins." The alien ships formed a half circle around the horizon, keeping their distance. They were sleek, with sharp angles that reminded Susan of Earth's stealth aircraft from centuries ago. "No response to our transmissions yet," Lily reported. Susan was about to order another broadcast when Taylor's console lit up red. "Energy spike," he shouted. "There!" The first blast hit before he could finish. The horizon rocked violently, throwing several crew members to the floor. Emergency lights flashed as the main power flickered. "Shields at 60%, Taylor called out, hands flying across his controls. "They're firing again." Susan grabbed the command rail to steady herself. "Return fire, defensive pattern only. Target their weapons systems." The Horizon's weapons came online, but too slowly. 3 more hits rocked the ship before they could respond. Susan watched in horror as one of the alien vessels split apart under their counterattack. The response was immediate. The remaining alien ships intensified their assault. "This doesn't make sense," Dr. Woods said, his face pale with shock. "No warning, no attempt at communication." "Captain, shields failing," Taylor reported. "Hull breaches on decks 5 through 8. Susan made her decision instantly. "Evacuation order. All hands to escape pods. Lieutenant Taylor, I need a skeleton crew to hold them off while our people get clear." "I'll stay," Taylor said without hesitation. "So will I," added Dr. Woods. Susan looked at them both, grateful but heartsick. "Programming the distress beacon now. It will transmit everything we know about these aliens back to Earth." She turned to the communications console. "Lily, coordinate the evacuation." Alarms wailed throughout the ship as the crew rushed to the escape pods. Through the view screen, Susan could see more alien vessels rising from the planet's surface. "They're scanning our database," Taylor reported. "They've broken through our firewalls." Susan felt cold dread settle in her stomach. What are they accessing? Navigational data, star charts. Taylor looked up, his eyes wide. "They have the coordinates for Earth." Another blast hit the ship, more powerful than the others. Half the bridge consoles exploded in showers of sparks. "Hull, integrity at 23%, reported the computer in its calm voice. Susan helped an injured crew member to the escape pod access corridor before returning to the bridge. Only Taylor and Woods remained at their posts. "Pods away," Taylor confirmed. 38 launched successfully. Susan nodded. relieved that most of her crew would survive. What about the aliens? Are they pursuing? Woods checked the sensors. No, they're holding position. He paused, frowning. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. The view screen flickered, then displayed an alien face. The creature had gray-blue skin with ridges along its skull and 4 yellow eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. It spoke, and the ship's translator struggled to interpret the language. We are the Zorax. You have violated our space. Your species represents contamination. We have located your world. We will cleanse it of your infection. The transmission cut off abruptly. They're charging weapons again, Taylor reported grimly. Susan met his gaze. Is the distress beacon ready? Yes, Captain. All data included, plus the Zorax transmission. Launch it now, maximum speed. Taylor pressed the command, and the small beacon shot away from the dying ship, accelerating rapidly until it vanished among the stars. Beacon away, he confirmed. Course set directly for Earth. Susan looked at the alien fleet surrounding them. They made a mistake, she said quietly. Captain? Woods asked. They think they're the predators, Susan explained, a strange calm settling over her. They don't realize what they've just done. Another hit rocked the ship. The artificial gravity failed, and loose objects began floating around the bridge. Critical system failure, announced the computer. Core containment compromised. Detonation in 60 seconds. Taylor looked at his console one last time. The pods are clear, Captain. Out of blast range. Susan nodded. The Zorax think this is the end of the story. They're wrong. She watched the alien ships through the failing view screen. This is just the beginning. What will happen when Earth finds out? Woods asked, oddly calm now that the end was inevitable. Susan's eyes were hard as she answered. They attacked the wrong species. Now humanity's coming. The bridge fell silent except for the countdown. In the final moments before the Horizon's core exploded, the 3 officers stood together, facing the view screen. The blast that followed was visible from the planet's surface, a new brief star in the darkness of space. The Zorax celebrated their victory, unaware they had just awakened a sleeping giant. As the escape pods drifted silently away from the battle scene, the distress beacon hurtled through space toward Earth, carrying its warning. The Zorax were coming, but humanity would be ready. Commander Diane Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EDF Spectre, the most advanced stealth vessel in Earth's growing fleet. The ship hummed softly around her, its engines barely a whisper as they pushed deep into what was now known as Zorax space. Status report, she said quietly, though there was no need for silence. The Spectre's stealth systems would prevent any sound from escaping the ship. All systems nominal, Commander, replied Lieutenant Owen Harris from the operations console. We're maintaining full stealth profile, no indication they've detected us. Diane nodded, pleased but not surprised. The Spectre was the first ship to use technology adapted from both human innovation and captured Zorax designs. It represented the best of what humanity could achieve under pressure. How long until we reach the target? She asked. 3 hours. To the Zorax supply depot, Commander, Owen answered. This mission was a gamble. Earth's defensive victories had given them breathing room, but intelligence suggested the main Zorax fleet was gathering for a massive push into human territory. The plan was simple but dangerous. Strike at their supply lines before the invasion could begin. In the tactical room 1 deck below, Paul Bennett was reviewing the battle plan with the strike team. At 45, Paul was older than most active military personnel, having been pulled from his teaching position at the Earth Defense Academy when the war began. His expertise in strategic thinking had quickly made him invaluable. The Zorax rely heavily on their fixed defensive positions, he explained, pointing to the holographic display of the alien supply depot. They don't adapt well to unexpected threats. Their military doctrine emphasizes overwhelming force rather than tactical flexibility. Sergeant Ryan Cooper, who led the Marine squad assigned to the mission, studied the layout. So we hit them where they don't expect it, and their response will be slow and predictable. Exactly, Paul confirmed. They'll follow standard protocols, which gives us time to complete the mission and withdraw before they can organize an effective response. The tactical room door slid open, and Dr. Lisa Grant entered, carrying what looked like modified rifles. "The final adjustments to your weapons are complete," she announced. "These should penetrate Zorak's personal shields just like our ship-based weapons do with their vessel shields." Ryan took one of the rifles, feeling its weight. "You're sure these will work?" Lisa smiled tightly. "As sure as I can be without field testing. But Kyle Martinez's theories have proven correct so far." As they approached the Zorak supply depot, Commander Rodriguez called the team to the bridge for a final briefing. The depot was visible on the main screen, a massive structure hanging in space like a metal spider. Supply ships moved in and out regularly, carrying materials for the gathering invasion fleet. "We have one shot at this," Diane told them. "The Spectre will approach under full stealth. We'll launch the strike team in the shadow of an incoming supply vessel. Once inside, your objectives are to gather intelligence, plant explosives at these key structural points, and extract before detonation." Ryan and his Marines nodded, faces serious beneath their helmet visors. "Remember," Paul added, "this isn't just about destroying their supplies. The psychological impact of striking this deep in their territory will be significant." The approach went exactly as planned. The Spectre slipped silently past the outer defenses, using a large incoming Zorax freighter as cover. The Marines launched, in their stealth pods, appearing on sensors as nothing more than space debris. Inside the depot, Ryan led his team through the alien corridors. The architecture was angular and efficient, much like the Zorax ships. They encountered few guards. The aliens clearly felt secure this deep in their own territory. "First charge placed," reported Private Alex Mason, attaching an explosive device to what appeared to be a main power conduit. Timer set for 30 minutes. The team moved methodically through the structure, placing charges at predetermined points while collecting data on Zorax technology and plans. They had almost completed their mission when an alarm suddenly blared through the station. "We've been detected," Ryan informed Commander Rodriguez through their secure channel. "Moving to extraction point now." "Understood," Diane replied from the Spectre. "Be advised, we're seeing increased activity. They're launching interceptors." The bridge, Diane watched as Zorax vessels began to move toward their position. "Bring weapon systems online," she ordered. "Prepare to cover the extraction." Paul joined her at the tactical display. "They're following standard response protocols," he noted. "Just as we expected, they're focusing on where they think the threat might come from, not where it actually is." Back on the station, Ryan and his team were running into resistance. Zorax soldiers blocked their path to the extraction point, forcing them to find an alternate route. "This way," said Corporal Jamie West, pointing to a maintenance shaft. "According to the schematics, this should lead us to the secondary docking bay." As they moved through the shaft, Dr. Grant communicated from the Spectre. "Sergeant Cooper, we're detecting a new type of energy signature near your position. Be careful. It might be a weapon system we haven't encountered before." Ryan acknowledged the warning just as they emerged into a large chamber. Inside were rows of devices unlike anything they had seen before. "Getting this on camera," said Private Mason, activating his helmet recorder. "Dr. Grant, are you seeing this?" "Yes," she replied, her voice tense. "Those appear to be some kind of biological delivery system, possible bioweapons." Ryan made a quick decision. Change of plans. We're setting additional charges in this chamber. As they planted the explosives, the station shuddered around them. Outside, the Spectre had engaged the Zorax interceptors, using its advanced weapons to devastating effect. "Strike team status?" Diane called over the comm. "Charges set," Ryan reported. "Moving to extraction now. Be advised, we've discovered what appears to be a bioweapons facility. We've set charges to destroy it." The revelation sent a chill through the bridge crew. The Zorax were planning biological warfare against human worlds. The Marines fought their way to the secondary docking bay, facing increasingly desperate Zorax resistance. They reached their extraction pods with only minutes to spare before detonation. "All team members accounted for," Ryan reported as the pods launched from the station. Heading to rendezvous coordinates, the Spectre moved to intercept them, its weapons keeping the Zorax vessels at bay. As the last marine pod was recovered, Commander Rodriguez gave the order to withdraw. They were barely clear when the explosions began. The charges detonated in sequence, creating a chain reaction that tore through the station. The bioweapons chamber explosion was particularly violent, sending a shockwave that damaged nearby Zorax ships. From a safe distance, the crew of the Spectre watched the supply depot break apart. "Mission accomplished," Diane said, allowing herself a small smile. "This will delay their invasion plans significantly," Paul noted, "and the intelligence we gathered about their bioweapons program is invaluable." As the Spectre turned and accelerated toward human space, Diane thought about what they had achieved. It wasn't just a tactical victory. They had shown the Zorax that humans could strike anywhere, even in the heart of their territory. "Send a message to Earth Command," she instructed her communications officer. "Tell them the operation was successful, and we're coming home, and add this. The Zorax thought we would hide and wait for their attack. They were wrong. Now they know. Humanity is coming for them." 3 weeks after the destruction of the ESV Horizon, the distress beacon reached Earth. General Olivia Carter was in a meeting with the Joint Defense Council when her aide rushed in with the news. The room fell silent as they watched the recording. From Captain Miller's final moments, the Zorax threat was clear. The alien message played again and again as experts analyzed every word, every gesture. "We will cleanse it of your infection." There was no room for misunderstanding. General Carter stood at the window of her office in the Earth Defense Force headquarters, looking out at the busy streets of New Washington. People walked below, going about their daily lives, unaware that everything was about to change. "They need to be told," said Senator Frank Thompson, who had joined her after the emergency council session. His face looked older than it had that morning. "Yes," Carter agreed. "But we need a plan first. Panic won't help anyone." The senator nodded. "The president is addressing the United Nations in 1 hour. All colonies will receive the broadcast simultaneously, and then we prepare for war," Carter said, her voice steady despite the weight of those words. In another part of the city, Kyle Martinez sat in his small apartment, working on designs for a new clean energy project. The television played quietly, in the background. At 32, he was already one of the most respected engineers in the private sector, known for solving problems others thought impossible. The program on TV suddenly cut to an emergency broadcast. Kyle barely noticed at first, too focused on his work. Then the president's grave voice caught his attention. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies, I come to you today with news that will change the course of human history." Kyle set down his tablet and turned up the volume. 3 weeks ago, an unprovoked attack by an alien species destroyed one of our exploration vessels. Based on the final transmission from the ESV Horizon, this species, calling themselves the Zorax, have declared their intention to attack Earth and all human settlements. Images appeared on the screen. The alien ships, the Zorax message, Captain Miller's final words. Kyle felt his stomach tighten as the reality of the situation sank in. "As of this moment, all of humanity is under threat," the president continued. "We are implementing Emergency Protocol Alpha. All military reserves are being activated. The Civilian Defense Act is now in effect." Kyle knew what that meant. The government could now draft anyone with skills deemed essential to the war effort. Engineers like him would be among the first called up. His phone rang less than an hour later. The next day, Kyle reported to the Defense Technology Center, a massive complex that had been built in secret over the past decade. He was directed to Lab 12, where a team was already assembled. "Martinez, glad you could join us," said Dr. Lisa Grant, the project leader. "We have work to do." She showed him to a secured room where fragments of alien technology were displayed on examination tables. These were recovered from previous encounters with unknown vessels. "We thought they were just explorer drones. Now we know they were Zorax scouts." Kyle picked up a small device, feeling its strange weight. "You want me to reverse engineer alien tech?" "That's exactly what we want," said a new voice. Admiral George Wilson had entered the room silently. He was a tall man with the weathered face of someone who had spent decades in space. From what we can tell, the Zorax outmatch us technologically in most areas. We need to close that gap fast. Kyle turned the device over in his hands. How long do we have? Intelligence estimates 6 months before their main fleet reaches our outer colonies, Wilson replied. Maybe less. Meanwhile, at Earth Defense Force headquarters, General Carter was overseeing the transformation of humanity's spacefaring fleet. Exploration vessels were being retrofitted with weapon systems. Scientific outposts were converted to military bases. Every ship capable of combat was being called back to defend the home system. We have 37 vessels combat-ready, reported Colonel Jake Murphy, her chief of operations. Another 54 can be armed within 2 months. Not enough, Carter said, studying the holographic map of human space. We need more. The civilian shipyards have been nationalized, Murphy said. They're converting everything they can, but time is the enemy here. Carter nodded grimly. What about the survivors from the horizon? The escape pods were recovered by the mining outpost on Proxima B. 38 crew members survived, including Communications Officer Lily Patel. She's been debriefed and is en route to Earth. Lily Patel's testimony proved invaluable. As one of the last people to speak with Captain Miller, she provided details about the Zorax attack that weren't in the beacon's data. Her description of their tactics gave Earth's military strategists their first insights into how the aliens fought. Across human space, society transformed. The decades of peace following the unification of Earth had left humanity unprepared for war. But now, facing extinction, old skills were remembered. Factories that had produced civilian goods for generations began manufacturing weapons and armor. Children practiced emergency drills in schools. Colonies established militia forces. 3 months after the president's announcement, Kyle made his breakthrough. Working with a team of the brightest minds on Earth, he had managed to adapt Zorax, shield technology for human use. It works by creating a phase variance in the electromagnetic field, he explained to Admiral Wilson and General Carter during the demonstration. Their weapons are calibrated to pass through their own shields. We've reversed that principle. They watched as a test drone fired a weapon recovered from Zorax scout ships at a small prototype shield generator. The energy blast dissipated harmlessly across the shield's surface. Can we scale it up? Carter asked immediately. Could this protect a ship? A colony? Kyle nodded. Given enough power, yes. And there's more. He gestured to another device on the lab table. We've adapted the same principle to create a weapon that can penetrate their shields. For the first time since the crisis began, Admiral Wilson smiled. How quickly can we put these into production? The first units are already being manufactured, Kyle said. Every factory with the capability has the schematics. We're looking at weeks, not months. As humanity prepared for war, the first Zorax scouts appeared at the edge of the solar system. They were detected by the newly established Deep Space Sensor Network. Another project rushed to completion under the threat of invasion. 6 vessels, reported the sensor operator to General Carter. Small, probably reconnaissance. Carter watched the tactical display as Earth's defense fleet moved to intercept. This would be the first test of their new weapons and shields under real combat conditions. All ships, maintain formation, ordered Admiral Wilson from the bridge of the flagship EDF Defiant. Remember your training. These aren't the same enemies who destroyed the horizon. This time, we're ready for them. The Zorax scouts, clearly not expecting resistance so far from Earth, were caught by surprise. When they opened fire, their energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the human vessel's adapted shields. The counterattack was swift and devastating. 3 Zorax ships were destroyed immediately. 2 more were disabled and captured. Only 1 escaped to carry word back to their fleet. In the aftermath, General Carter addressed the unified command staff. Today was a victory, but only a small one. The main Zorax force is still coming. They attacked one of our ships and thought we would be easy prey. They were wrong. Her eyes swept across the room, meeting the gaze of each officer in turn. We have shown them that humanity will not go quietly. We have shown them that when pushed, we push back harder. They attacked the wrong species. Now, it's our turn. Mayor Samantha Howard stood on the observation deck of New Portland Colony, watching as civilian ships landed one after another. Each carried families fleeing from the outer colonies as the Zorax pushed deeper into human space. The successful raid on the alien supply depot had delayed their advance but not stopped it. "How many more can we take?" she asked the man beside her. Ben Mitchell, who had once been a city planner before the war changed everything, consulted his tablet. "We have room for another 2,000 if we convert the storage facilities in Sector 7. After that," he shrugged, "we'd need to start building new shelters." Samantha nodded. 6 months ago, New Portland had been a mid-sized mining colony with a population of 30,000. Now it held nearly twice that number. As a former military officer who had retired to civilian leadership, she understood the strategic importance of her colony. Positioned between Earth and the advancing Zorax fleet, New Portland had become an unexpected stronghold. "Start the conversions," she ordered, "and double the civilian defense drills. Everyone needs to know what to do when they come." The warning sirens blared that night. Samantha was in the command center when the long-range sensors detected the Zorax battle group. 5 main vessels and 12 smaller craft, reported Emma Daniels, the communications specialist who had become essential to the colony's defense network. Her fingers moved rapidly across her console as she analyzed the incoming data. "They'll reach our orbit in 3 hours. Samantha activated the colony-wide communication system. "This is Mayor Howard. Zorax forces have been detected approaching New Portland. All civilians proceed to designated shelter areas. All defense personnel report to your stations. This is not a drill." Throughout the colony, people moved with practiced efficiency. Families gathered essential supplies and headed to the underground shelters. Defense teams took up positions at key points around the settlement. Ben Mitchell, who had no military training before the war, now led the civilian militia. He had proven to have a natural talent for guerrilla tactics, using the colonists' knowledge of the local terrain to create effective defense strategies. "All teams in position," he reported to Samantha. "We've deployed the shield generators according to Kyle Martinez's design. They should protect our critical infrastructure." Samantha nodded. "The Zorax will try to land ground forces once they realize our defenses are stronger than expected. That's when we'll need your people." "We're ready," Ben assured her. The first attack came exactly as expected. The Zorax ships launched a heavy bombardment from orbit, clearly intended to destroy the colony's defenses before landing troops. But the adapted shield technology held, absorbing the energy weapons with minimal damage. In the colony's medical center, Dr. Nathan Clark watched the attack through reinforced windows while preparing his staff for casualties. "Remember, we've drilled for this," he told the nervous medical team. "Focus on your jobs and we'll get through it." A nurse pointed at the sky. "Look." Through gaps in the shield energy, they could see flashes of light as the colony's limited orbital defenses engaged the Zorax ships. It wasn't enough to drive them off, but it forced the aliens to rethink their approach. "They're launching landing craft," Emma reported in the command center. "I count 20 craft heading for the surface." Samantha turned to Ben. "This is it. Your teams know what to do?" He nodded, already moving toward the exit. "We'll make them regret landing here." The Zorax landing craft touched down in a ring around the main colony, their troops deploying with military precision. They were humanoid but taller, with blue-gray skin and 4 eyes that provided superior vision. Their technology gave them an advantage: advanced weapons and personal shields similar to those used on their ships. But the human defenders had advantages of their own. The colonists knew every ridge, every ravine, every building. And they had Ben Mitchell's unconventional tactics. "Hold positions," Ben instructed his teams through their comm network. "Let them advance to the marked points." The Zorax moved forward, in tight formations, clearly expecting to overwhelm the colony with superior firepower. They didn't notice the subtle modifications to the terrain or the carefully hidden defense positions. Now, Ben ordered when the first alien units reached the designated areas. Hidden emitters activated, creating localized disruption fields based on Dr. Grant's research. The Zorak's personal shields flickered and failed. At the same moment, colonist snipers opened fire from concealed positions, targeting officers first as Ben had instructed. The alien advance faltered as confusion spread through their ranks. Their rigid command structure, so effective in conventional warfare, became a weakness when leaders were suddenly eliminated. Back in the command center, Samantha monitored the defense, while Emma maintained communication with Earth Command. "We're holding them for now," Samantha reported. "But we can't keep this up indefinitely. Reinforcements are still 12 hours out," Emma replied grimly. "We need to buy more time." The battle continued for hours as the Zoraks tried different approaches. Each met with the colonists' prepared countermeasures. By nightfall, the aliens had suffered heavy losses but were regrouping for another push. Then came the new threat. Colonist sensors detected unusual devices being deployed from the Zorak ship still in orbit. "What are those?" Samantha asked as grainy images appeared on the main screen. Dr. Clark, who had joined them after treating the wounded, leaned forward with a frown. "They look like the biological delivery systems the stealth mission discovered." Fear swept through the command center. They had all heard about the bioweapons the Zoraks were developing. "Emergency Protocol Alpha," Samantha ordered immediately. "Full environmental seal on all shelters. Everyone into protective gear." The warning spread throughout the colony just as the devices activated, releasing a fine mist into the atmosphere. Filters and protective measures snapped into place, but not everyone could reach shelter in time. The first cases appeared within hours. Colonists arrived at medical centers with similar symptoms: fever, respiratory distress, blue discoloration of the skin. Dr. Clark worked tirelessly, analyzing the pathogen while treating the afflicted. "It was engineered specifically to attack human physiology," he explained to Samantha during a brief update. "But there's something odd about its structure." "Can you treat it?" she asked, the weight of leadership heavy on her shoulders. "I think so," he replied, surprising her. "It's deadly, but in their effort to make it target humans specifically, they've created weaknesses. Our immune systems can fight it if given the right support." While Dr. Clark developed a treatment, the battle for the colony continued. The Zoraks, confident their bioweapon would soon eliminate resistance, pressed their attack with renewed vigor, but they had underestimated human determination again. Ben's militia, many now wearing protective gear, continued their hit-and-run tactics. The colony's shields held despite repeated bombardments, and most importantly, Dr. Clark's treatment began to show results. 3 days into the siege, Earth, reinforcements finally arrived. The Zoraks, caught between the colony's defenses and the arriving human fleet, were forced to retreat, leaving behind damaged ships and equipment. As the alien vessels fled the system, Samantha gathered with Ben, Emma, and Dr. Clark to assess their situation. "We've lost nearly 500 people," Dr. Clark reported somberly, "but thousands more will recover thanks to the treatment. And we've captured intact Zorak ships and weapons," Ben added. "Their technology will help Earth's war effort." Emma smiled for the first time in days as she held up her tablet. "I just received word from Earth Command. New Portland's defense is being called the turning point of the war. They're saying if a single colony can defeat a Zorak's battle group, humanity has a real chance of winning this." Samantha looked out at her battered but unbowed colony. "The Zoraks thought they could simply wipe us out," she said quietly. "They were wrong. This isn't just about survival anymore. We've proven that humanity can fight back and win." 1 year after the attack on the ESV horizon, the war had transformed. What began as a desperate defense against an overwhelming alien threat had become something the Zoraks never expected: a human counteroffensive that pushed steadily toward the heart of their territory. Admiral Olivia Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship EDF Retribution, looking at the tactical display where hundreds of ships moved in precise formation. The human fleet had grown beyond all expectations, incorporating technology adapted from captured Zoraks vessels alongside innovations born from humanity's desperate creativity. "All battle groups report ready, Admiral," said her executive officer, Commander Pete Wilson. Olivia nodded. her face showing calm determination. In the year since she'd been promoted from general to admiral, she had led the unified fleet through a series of victories that had stunned the enemy. Today would be the most important battle yet. Signal all ships, she ordered. Operation Horizon begins now. The name was deliberate, a reminder of the exploration vessel whose destruction had started this war. The human fleet jumped into hyperspace, disappearing from the edges of Zorax territory, only to reappear hours later near their homeworld. The sudden arrival of over 300 warships threw the Zorax defense forces into confusion. In the main weapons control center of the Retribution, Kyle Martinez monitored the performance of the systems he had helped design. No longer just an engineer, he now led the Special Weapons Division that had revolutionized human military capability. Shields holding at 98%, reported his assistant, as Zorax defense platforms opened fire. Their weapons are less effective than in previous engagements. Kyle nodded, not surprised. They haven't adapted their frequencies. They still don't understand how our shields work. That was the key to humanity's success. While the Zorax relied on established tactics and technologies, humans constantly evolved, constantly adapted. Each encounter taught them something new. Each captured piece of alien technology was studied and improved upon. The first wave of Zorax ships moved to intercept the human fleet. Among them was the flagship of High Commander Krazital, the military leader who had ordered the attack on the horizon 1 year ago. On the bridge of his vessel, Krazital watched with growing concern as the human ships moved with unexpected coordination. Reports from the front lines had warned of the humans' effectiveness, but he had dismissed them as exaggerations. Now he witnessed their capabilities firsthand. Target their command ship, he ordered his weapons officer. Full power to forward, batteries. The Zorax flagship fired its main weapon, a beam of concentrated energy that could tear through most defenses. It struck the Retribution's shields, which flared bright blue but held firm. The human response was immediate. A squadron of smaller vessels, led by Commander Diane Rodriguez, broke formation and executed a series of maneuvers that no Zorax tactician had predicted. They surrounded Krazital's ship, their weapons firing in perfect synchronization. Shields, failing, reported the Zorax second in command. We cannot withstand this level of coordinated attack. For the first time in his long military career, Krazital felt fear, not just for himself but for his species. The humans were not fighting like any enemy the Zorax had faced before. They were fighting with a creativity and determination that defied all predictions. Aboard the Retribution, Admiral Carter watched as Rodriguez's squadron disabled the Zorax flagship without destroying it. Send the boarding teams, she ordered. I want Krazital captured alive. The Marine teams, equipped with the latest armor and weapons developed under Kyle's guidance, breached the Zorax vessel with precision and speed. Led by veterans of the New Portland defense, they moved through the alien ship with practiced efficiency. Krazital was captured on his own bridge, surrounded by his fallen officers. The Marines brought him to the Retribution, where he was escorted to the command deck under heavy guard. The Zorax commander stood before Admiral Carter, his 4 yellow eyes blinking rapidly as he assessed the human leader. He was taller than most humans, with the blue-gray skin and prominent skull ridges characteristic of his species. You are their leader? He asked, his voice translated by devices developed after months of studying the Zorax language. I am Admiral Olivia Carter of the Earth Defense Force, she confirmed. And you are High Commander Krazital, the one who ordered the attack on our exploration vessel 1 year ago. A minor ship that violated our space, Krazital replied with the arrogance that had characterized his species' approach to the war. That minor ship was called the Horizon, Carter said coldly. It carried scientists and explorers, not warriors. You destroyed it without provocation, and then threatened to cleanse our world. Around the bridge, human officers watched the exchange in silence. Many had lost friends or family in the fighting that followed the Horizon's destruction. It was necessary, Krazital insisted. Your species represents contamination, unpredictability, a threat to the order we maintain. Kyle Martinez stepped forward, unable to contain himself. You attacked us because we're different? Because we don't fit into your neat, ordered view of how species should behave? Precisely, the Zorax commander said. Your adaptability makes you dangerous. This war has proven that. Admiral Carter studied the alien leader. You're right about one thing. You attacked the wrong species, but this war ends today. Outside, the battle continued. The human fleet systematically disabled the Zorax defense platforms and blockaded the planet. Unlike the Zorax, they deliberately avoided civilian targets, focusing their fire on military installations. You could destroy our world, Krastal observed. Why don't you? Because that's what you would do, Carter replied. We're not like you. We don't seek to exterminate those who are different. The Admiral turned to her communications officer. Open a channel to the Zorax planetary government. On the main screen appeared a group of elderly Zorax, their skin paler than Krastal's, their eyes wider with fear. These were the civilian leaders who had allowed the military to pursue the war against humanity. I am Admiral Carter of Earth, she began. Your military forces have been defeated. Your defense platforms have been disabled. We now control the space around your world. The Zorax leaders looked at each other in confusion. This was not how wars ended in their experience. Victors did not offer terms, they eliminated the vanquished. We offer you peace, Carter continued, in exchange for your immediate surrender, the dismantling of your offensive military capabilities and reparations for the human lives lost. We will spare your world and your people. The silence that followed was broken by Kyle. You called us dangerous because we adapt and change, but that also means we can envision something better than endless war. We can imagine peace between different species. 6 months later, Kyle stood in a laboratory on the Zorax homeworld, working alongside alien scientists who had once been enemies. The peace treaty had included provisions for scientific exchange, turning the adaptability that had frightened the Zorax into a bridge between the species. Your approach is unorthodox, commented his Zorax colleague, observing Kyle's modifications to a power system. But effective. Kyle smiled. That's humanity for you. We're full of surprises. On Earth, Admiral Carter received news of the first joint human Zorax expedition, a scientific mission to explore a distant star system. It was a small step, but a significant one. They attacked the wrong species, she told her staff as they celebrated the news. But in the end, that mistake led to something neither they nor we could have imagined. Not just victory, but understanding.